So I am going to welcome everybody tonight. Congratulations for joining us in the first Friday of the year and the time of the year when most of us, if not all of us, reflect about the past year and look forward to the coming year 2025 filled with promises and positive changes and blessings, if you will, and everything we hope for and pray about. And part of what we actually pray about are finances. Although it's not the most important thing in the world, but money actually impacts many important things in our life. I don't want to sound materialistic tonight, but we will cover a book that I happened to hear about online. And I found out in one of the YouTube or online sharings that this is one of the top five books of 2025 that people should read. It is a very impactful book. And that's what I heard. And I must admit, I'm not a finance person. I'm not too exposed to money matters, although this is very important as it impacts all of us. So I did grab the book. In fact, I have it here with me. I'm not just doing an online AI summary, but telling you about my experience going through this book. What I can say is, I wish I read it many decades ago when I just graduated from college and started making money for myself. Unfortunately, my mom didn't teach me, my dad didn't teach me, nobody taught me. Many of us learn about finances and savings and stuff like that from experience, from friends, maybe from. But unless you have a hunger to learn and you're ready to learn these principles, you're going to make mistakes along the way. And mistakes are not bad, they're learning experiences, but sometimes they can be painful because they involve money. So the Psychology of Money, the book by Morgan House, Timeless Lessons on Wealth, Greed, and Happiness. Let's see the next page, the author. Hold on, I need to see the screen. There you go. Morgan Housel. Ever. And he has over 7 million books sold, translated into 60 plus languages. And he's a two-time winner of the Best in Business Award from the Society of American Business Editors and Writers. Okay, he has so many awards. And the beauty about books is that people like this are very influential, very educated, very in the know. They take years and months to put a book together. And when you read a book, you actually get all the information in your brain in a week or in a month if you're not a very fast reader like me. So the book teaches you how to have a better relationship with money and to make smarter financial decisions. And again, if you're just logging in, I wish I learned these things when I was much younger or when I started making money. So let's look at the key takeaways that I got from the book. Okay, the book is, it depends. It's quite a heavy read, but there are very important timeless principles that will apply to any generation and any time. Um, I found the part of investing in stocks heavy. I don't know if you're a stock investor, but it was kind of, there are parts that are really, really heavy about investing. But again, if you're open to learn, then let's take a look. The first takeaway is about luck and risk. It is easy, dear friends, to convince yourself that your financial outcomes are determined entirely by the quality of your decisions and actions and your capabilities, right? But that's not always the case. You can make good decisions that lead to poor financial outcomes, and you can make bad decisions that lead to good financial outcomes. Why is that? See, I always thought that if you have great financial knowledge and experience and advisors, you'll always make good decisions. But the author here says you can't be sure because you have to account for something called luck and risk. Meaning, and he talks about this a lot in the book, that there are things you cannot determine no matter how good you are. Next page. So be cautious about people you admire, and also be cautious about people that you judge and look down upon. Those at the top may have been the benefactors of luck, naswertehan nila, and those at the bottom may have been the victims of risk. You can't make sweeping judgments. Success and failure are influenced by factors outside of our control. That's what the author says. I would tend to think that you become luckier when you work hard, when you study hard, when you act, rather than you're just hoping or betting or just waiting for luck to strike. So working hard can make you luckier. Next page. Focus less on individuals. So he's saying don't talk about individual people who got so successful and so lucky, and they call this the Midas touch. Focus less on individuals and turn your mind to broader patterns. What are the patterns that are similar to all these success stories? Because in the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, if you read that book, you see Rich Dad was highly, highly educated, but died broke. And Poor Dad was uneducated, and he died one of the wealthiest men in Hawaii. And in this particular book, The Psychology of Money, the book starts with a story. I forget the names, okay? But the story goes that there was this person who became like a super millionaire, billionaire, so wealthy, so much properties. And over his lifetime, he got broke. On the other end of the story is a man who was a nobody. He was just a regular employee. But over time, when he died, they found out he had millions of dollars stashed away. How does that happen? So we need to look at what is the broader pattern here. Bakit nagkakaganon? Diba? Because we want to apply that to our lives. Next slide. Be kind to yourself. When you make a mistake or end up on the wrong side of risk, which will happen to many of us, be forgiving to yourself. Be kind. Make it into a learning experience. The world is uncertain, dear friends, and it may not be your fault if something goes wrong. So that makes us feel a little bit better. No, we don't blame ourselves being careless or stupid or we didn't do our homework or stuff like that. That's what the author said. Next page. Number 2 takeaway: lessons from the wealthiest man, Warren Buffett. Now here's the story of Warren Buffett. I'll show you some numbers in a while. It is easy to have a goalpost that keeps moving. You know, you make this money, you move the goalpost to make it more money, you move your goalpost again to make it to have more money. And once you achieve your goals, you look forward and toward the next financial goal. It doesn't stop. When it comes to money, someone will always have more money than you. Be careful with your unhappiness there because you're comparing yourself. He talks about that too. That it is totally fine to pursue more money, but don't start making risky bets that puts what you already own and have at risk for something that you don't need. You see, it's about being wise. Why am I going to bet or risk something when I already have it just because I want something bigger? He says that's not wise. Now, let's look at Warren Buffett. You see, he got wealthy because of something called compounding. Now, this is, next page, please. Compounding is deceptively powerful. Warren Buffett's net worth today is 84 billion US dollars. Oh my God, can we even imagine that? Now listen to these figures. Of that 84.2 billion US dollars, it was accumulated only after his 50th birthday. 81.5 billion came after he qualified for Social Security in his mid 60s. Oh, wow. So Warren Buffett from the beginning has been doing the right things, consistently, persistently saving, if you will, being frugal, living below his means, consistently and persistently over a long period of time. And it multiplies, it compounds. Wealth building, dear friends, is a long-term process. Listen to this: small, consistent actions and the ability to stay invested over time can lead to substantial results. It can be very, very tempting when you're saving money or building wealth. You know, you suddenly want to buy something, you want to buy a new house or go on a grand vacation. And looking at Warren Buffett, all these things was completely under control. He was not eager about spending money. He was eager about saving money. Next page. Another takeaway, number 3. Getting money versus keeping money. It's not the same. You know what they said, dear friends? You become rich not by the money that you make, but the money you save. That's how you become wealthy. So people can make a lot of money and remain poor because they are not able to invest or save. And if you do this over a long period of time, congratulations, you're on track to the compounding magic. Getting money requires taking risks, being optimistic, and putting yourself out there. But keeping money, okay, this is another this is another paradigm, requires the opposite of taking risk. It requires, because you already have money coming in, but keeping it requires humility, meaning staying humble. Why? When we buy flashy things, we want people to think we're successful. We want people to think we're somebody. Expensive car, big home. So it's about showing instead of being humble. And it requires fear that what you make, what you already made, because you've earned the money, can easily be taken away from you. That fear that anything can happen and suddenly you've lost it. You know, when you're fearful of that, you're careful about spending. Have a healthy respect for the uncertain and for potential losses. That's what our author is saying. Next page. Keeping money requires frugality and acceptance that at least some of what you made is attributable to luck. So it's not all because of you. So you don't, you know, puff yourself up and think, I'm good, I made a lot of money, or I've saved a lot of money. You just could be lucky. So remember that getting money and keeping the money in the long term are two different skills. Getting money involves taking risks, hard work, and optimistic disposition, and that is good. But keeping money means avoiding getting greedy, mitigating risks, and remember that things can be taken from you at any moment. So there's always that fear, okay, a healthy fear. Next slide. Number 4 takeaway. The highest form of wealth. Is it money? No. It is the ability to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, for as long as you want. It is the highest dividend that money pays. Think about it. Freedom. Someone who is actually free and they do what they want to do on a Monday morning. No boss, nobody to tell them to be here, meeting, do this, do that, show up here. It's 100% their call. That is freedom, and that is true wealth. Having more flexibility and control over your time is far more valuable than getting another 2% on your returns by working all-nighters or making speculative bets that affect your sleep. So you're so fearful of financial moves you made, and it's keeping you awake at night. True wealth is about having control over your time and decisions rather than just amassing money. Think about that. What is true wealth for you? Next key takeaway. Ferraris don't generate respect. Why not? According to the author of the book, because I was wondering, why not? I mean, you'd be really wowed by somebody who owns a Ferrari, right? People buy mansions and fancy cars because they want respect and admiration from others. Okay? But the case is this. Other people don't admire the person with a fancy house or the fancy car. They admire the object, the car or the house, and they think of themselves having that object, driving that car, living in that home. They don't think of the person who owns it. So buying impressive objects to gain admiration and respect from others is a fool's pursuit. In short, it doesn't really generate respect, according to the author. You might have your own ideas, but that's what this book author talks about. Resist temptation, next slide, to increase spending as income grows. So my income is growing. Let me buy this handbag. Or my income is growing. Let's go on that cruise and splurge the money. Happiness is more tied to financial security than material possessions. Now, listen to this, very, very important. You know, I'm guilty about this. I have to admit, the more that we make money, the more I'd like to buy things. And this is one realization that I got from the book. It's reading this book is actually a life-changing uh, experience for me, especially done over the end of the year. You know, a time that you reflect about what changes are you going to do in the next year. Listen to this, dear friends. The ability to live below your means is a powerful financial tool. And there is more happiness in financial security, in savings, that if something happens, you're not going to go under. There's more joy and happiness there than buying something and hoping to impress people with it. Okay? That's what he's saying. Next slide. Number 6 takeaway: being rich versus wealthy. I think you more now that if you are rich, you have a high current income. Yeah, you're rich. But this is what he says: being wealthy is something different from being rich. What is it? He said, wealth is not visible. It's the money that you have, tago, invested, saved, not obvious. Like if you buy a car, that's obvious. The money that you have that is not spent, capital NOT, not spent, that is your wealth and it is invisible. You have the option to buy or do something with that money at a future time. You have it there. Rich is short term. You make money, but wealthy is long term. It's actually freedom and the ability to, and time in the future. Okay. Next slide, please. The price for investing. There are many ways that you can invest, dear friends. You can invest in money, in cash, but then he also mentioned in the book that the interest of money when you put it in a bank is very, very low compared to other returns. He actually talks a lot about investing in stocks, which has a higher return per year. But the thing with stocks is that it can go up and down, and you only see that kind of return over a long period of time when you average out. So you have to have the discipline to keep your money invested in stocks, because when it goes up and down, it's like you get scared and you want to sell it or unload, and it takes that self-control to be able to let, again, time compounding work for you. He talks a lot about stocks in the book. Like everything worthwhile, or you can invest also in real estate, which is in our country, especially in the big cities, real estate can really go up very, very quickly. It's like you can double your investment, triple your investment. Unbelievable. But the difficulty with real estate is that you're not liquid. So if an emergency comes up, you don't have the cash. So investments have different pros and cons. It's up to you. You study it. Like everything worthwhile, successful investing demands a price. But its currency is not pesos and centavos. We're not talking about that as the price. Your volatility, fear, doubt, uncertainty, and regret when you're investing, especially in stocks. That's what he's saying. The price is the ups and downs of Mr. Market that takes you on a ride. You need to be prepared to deal with volatility and uncertainty. It's part of the game. And you need to stay in the game for a long time. So it's not just investing and investing. You need to know what you're investing in. You need to know the pros and cons. You need to know the ups and downs, the risks that you're going to face, and that understand that it's not overnight that you become wealthy and create a lot of, wealth in terms of money. Number 8, takeaway is a plan for the unexpected. Always account for uncertainty in your financial plan. Having an emergency fund and a margin for safety protects against unforeseen events. And that's a scary part, because we all know that there are people who save over a long period of time, but then something happens. The business suddenly closes down, just like during the COVID time. Or, God forbid, somebody in the family gets sick and there's no insurance plan. Savings of a lifetime can get wiped out. So the lesson he talks about in number 8 is always plan for the unexpected. Now, without these plans and without the financial understanding of luck and risk and all the other principles he talks about, it's really it's easy to understand why money can disappear very, very quickly. Let's talk about the lottery. Okay. We're still here in the number 8. Winning the lottery is often seen as a gateway to financial freedom. Well, that's what we think. But for many, sudden wealth leads to unexpected challenges. Studies suggest that a significant number of lottery winners face financial difficulties post-win. Here are the statistics. The National Endowment for Financial Education estimates that about 70% of lottery winners go bankrupt within a few years. Listen to a couple of these stories. Why do they go bankrupt? Jack Whittaker. In 2002, Whittaker, I don't know how you pronounce it, won a $315 million Powerball jackpot. Wow, how can you lose that money, or what? It's mind-boggling, is it not? Despite his substantial winnings, he faced numerous personal and financial challenges, including legal issues, personal tragedies, leading to the depletion of his fortune. How does that happen? You see, making money, as I said earlier, is very, very different from keeping money. Okay. Evelyn Adams Remarkably, Adams won the New Jersey lottery twice in 1985 and 1986, totaling 5.4 million US dollars. However, excessive gambling and spending left her penniless, residing in a trailer. Imagine, and there's so many other stories of people here who have a lot of money and everything gone. Okay. Next slide, please. I'd like to add this as I wrap up our book sharing tonight about the points that impacted me in the book, The Psychology of Money, Timeless Lessons on Wealth, Greed, and True Happiness. I'd like to talk to you about the movie in Netflix, The Forge. Now, I would highly recommend this movie. It has a very strong spiritual message. So beautiful for New Year to watch. Very uplifting. It is a story of a man who's a young man who's 19 years old, whose life is falling apart. He's bad at school. He has a bad relationship with his mom, and help his single mom. They fight. He's messy. He's a very bad 19-year-old until he starts to work for a company that actually supplies or sells fitness gear and equipment, a pretty big company, actually. Unknown to him is the CEO of that company is not just a businessman. He's also somebody who mentors disciples for Jesus Christ. What they do is that they pick a young person, maybe their son or some stranger, and this successful man, he actually mentors one-on-one this 19-year-old for 2 years on the principles of Christian living, principles of not being late, being professional, being honest, being reading the Bible, and it's a very refreshing movie. But it also has its financial lessons. Why? You see, in the movie, by the way, this is not in the book. I added this because I found the financial lessons in the book so relevant to the psychology of money. According to the CEO who runs a successful company for sports gears and equipment, 10% of the company earnings are reserved for donating to causes to uplift the less fortunate. So every month, they have a big food fair where they have so much food, canned foods and hot food, and they buy all of that and they serve the less fortunate every month. And then they have funds from the 10% reserve in their company. They save it as funds so that if there is a hurricane or there's a flood in somewhere in the US or somewhere abroad, or there's some fire, they get money from the reserve, from the 10%, and they donate that money to help. And what is impressive is that sometimes the bottom line of the money of the company is affected by that 10%. There's not enough money left for the 10%. But the discipline of the CEO, this person who disciples Christian boys, they prioritize the 10% that they give as a financial reserve to help people. That's so admirable that a company would do that. Now, why would you do that? Maybe you want to save your money. Yeah, sure. What maybe you want to invest in something. Yeah, sure. But what if you could set aside an amount of money, maybe not 10%, but the Bible does talk about 10% every month to give it away for something. There's so many causes in the Philippines that we can support, right? Now, why would we do that? Generosity, that's why I added this to the book, because generosity can enhance your happiness. It can give you a sense of purpose. You discipline yourself, you sacrifice. I'm also talking to myself, by the way. Allocating 10% that's just an example, requires budgeting and prioritizing, leading to better money management. It promotes a culture of empathy in your team, in your company, in your whatever career you have. And it makes a tangible difference in the lives of many other people. I've come to the end of the book sharing tonight, talking about a lot of ideas. I hope I didn't overload you. It's already 45 minutes. And I've left you with a lot of ideas that you can kind of digest, especially as the new year begins. Thank you so much for being with me tonight and being my audience.